Hello and welcome to another round of Spudventures. This week we are once again playing Vampire the Masquerade, 5th edition, for our first ever Chronicle, the Blood Virulent. Or Virulent, however you say that. I'm going to say it multiple ways and you can't stop me. Joining me is VerminQuest playing as Sylvia Lane, the Tremere.
Hello.
Azure Mountain playing as the so-called Dr. Bright, the Caitiff.
Yep.
Oblivious as Gabriel Carter, the Brujah.
I panicked and I forgot where the mute button was.
That's fine. Avis as Dr. Circe Aislinn, the Gangrel.
Yeah, cat.
And Space Jawa as Kazimer Grigori, the Ventrue.
Oh.
Wait, what was that? I got cut off a bit.
Hello.
Oh.
He did the accent.
Is that the accent we're going with today?
I think he peaked the audio and that's why it cut off.
He totally
Probably.
did.
Okay. Well, back after session 0 with character sheets all more or less finally filled out. There are a couple things here and there that aren't strictly necessary. If you might not have known, if you haven't watched session 0, I think session 0 went pretty well. You should go and watch that. But this is my first time being a storyteller for Vampire the Masquerade and working with the World of Darkness at all. And for a lot of us players, it's also the first time playing vampires and interacting with the World of Darkness. So this is a new excursion for all of us. And I guess the point of that tangent being, be gentle. Be patient with us.
Don't gatekeep.
If you have problems, you can suck it. That's right, Din. Wait. The fact that it's live, too, is another aspect, but we have a pretty easygoing chat around here, so I'm not too worried. So, in our 3-session Chronicle, the Blood Virulent, the setting is the relatively quiet town of Sedona, Arizona. A town of about a little more than 10,000 people in the year, in the year 20, pretty much setting it right now, present day, 2021. Like, beginning of the year, because in January, it's darker, the nights are longer. It's better for vampires. Being out in the desert during the summer is kind of stifling.
Well, being out in the desert is stifling it in general. It's just a matter of what temperature do you not like.
Yeah. Sedona is not what you'd expect to be like a vampire town, and it's generally not like a major stronghold in any way. Crime rate is like 50% lower than the national average here. Roughly 90% of the population that lives here holds white-collar jobs. But there is a pretty strong tourism industry based around sort of the natural formations of red rock in the area, which you as vampires don't really care about because you can't really admire them in the dead of night. But it does mean that a lot of fresh blood comes through fairly regularly. Northern Arizona and Nevada, Las Vegas area, pretty good for tourism's pretty good for a vampire. It allows there to be a bit more anonymity and a bit more flow through in terms of being able to hunt and drink the blood of others. Because otherwise, a vampire in a small town, the way small towns work, populations work, everyone knows their neighbors, and it's hard for a vampire to hide long term. But the 5 of you and a few others, in fact, kind of have made your claims here. Sedona is 2 hours north along the highway from Phoenix, Arizona, which is, as of the last 10 years or so, has been an Anarch domain. And so by extension, the small towns around it, including your Sedona, are technically Anarch territory. It used to be a pretty strong Camarilla domain, but at the start of the Second Inquisition, when the vampire deep web ShrekNet was compromised and the Camarilla decided, no more technology, Camarilla domains kind of all reacted in different ways, and the one in Phoenix, the prince there, did not react well, ended up getting real paranoid and reclusive, just thinking there were enemies around every corner. And,
Quick question.
Yeah?
Anarch just means that there's no particularly strong leaning to any particular faction, right?
Anarchs are basically the main faction that challenged the Camarilla, which is, the Ivory Tower, one of the longest running like vampire global governments. It's the Anarchs are a direct challenge to that, but on the ground level, they're more like a free association of vampire gangs that have all kind of agreed that they're not going to fight each other as much so that they can resist the Camarilla together. They style themselves as a freedom movement.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if you meant Anarch with a lowercase or capital A.
Capital A, N-A-R-C-H. Vampire anarchists, in a sense, but kind of each Anarch domain has kind of its own. Every domain has its own interpretations of sort of vampire law, whether it's Camarilla or Anarchs, but Anarchs are specifically, we need to rethink how the Camarilla, run things. And especially after the Second Inquisition began, they were like, the Camarilla have let us all down, and we especially need to find a new order here. Being close to California, which is pretty much the Anarch Free State, they have other domains kind of reaching out into Nevada, Arizona, Oregon. And Phoenix was claimed by a Caitiff, who is now the Baron of Phoenix, Arizona, named Daria. When she took over, she basically said, you over there, don't cause trouble and we won't have to come down there, basically. And you have been mostly left to your own devices.
Now, how are we going to just completely screw this up?
Easily.
That remains to be seen.
Very easily.
Also worth noting, 2 hours south along the highway is Phoenix. About 50 minutes north is Flagstaff, which is basically a tourist town for the southern part of the Grand Canyon. Another source of tourism and fresh blood. Flagstaff is currently a Camarilla domain, but no one really wants to take that over because, from what you've heard, there's something like really bad festering in the bottom of the Grand Canyon, something dark in the shadows, and the Camarilla prince out there is kind of handling that, and no one really wants to inherit that from him. So he's been kind of left alone and cut off from the others
down there.
Yeah, no one really.
He's taking care of the mess. Nobody wants to take care of it for him.
Yeah, exactly. Like
until that.
Yeah. So
I make jokes about death claws, but honestly, there really could be a werewolf problem down there.
Well, you're out in the desert, and generally, like, natural areas are rife with rife with werewolves, forests and even down the desert, where supernatural creatures have a lot of open space to freely control. Around Sedona specifically, though, there's also some unusual, like, for lack of a better term, Geist activity.
Oh,
sort of energy activity. Nothing terribly like recent or dangerous in your neck of the woods, but like it does out in the desert and stone. Makes it kind of hard for werewolves to gain a footing when there's all manner of ghosts kind of being a problem out in the wild. But as long as you stay on the roads and the cities, you're fine. So that works out. You have this buffer of ghost energy.
So we've got one problem being solved by another problem.
Kind of, yeah. It's, however you get equilibrium in the world of darkness, you kind of take.
It's like Mr. Burns' many disease blocking each other from killing him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if even one thing comes out of balance, totally immune, got it.
Yeah.
That's the world of darkness, kind of in a nutshell, is Mr. Burns' immune system being just all the diseases just bumping against each other. Indestructible, you say. Yeah, exactly. But that's enough about sort of the background of Sedona and Northern Arizona. Let's talk about our vampires. Would anyone particularly want to go first? What I'm thinking we're doing is just kind of have like a little prologue with each of you going over sort of, your history and then your day-to-day right now.
I can go first.
All right. Yours is Sylvia Lane. I want to talk about generally what she's like, how she looks, that sort of thing, general appearance.
Right. So, let's see. So she's usually she wears like dark or muted colors, like red skirts, shawls, usually nice shoes. Sometimes she'll wear boots and a cowboy hat if the situation would be that way, since she's big in the kind of Sedona art scene and the Sedona
Pop occultism scene.
Pop occultism scene, yeah, the new age scene.
Yeah.
I guess the aesthetic would be described kind of like goth cottagecore. It's like kind of like a goth hippie look, I guess.
I love the words that just came out.
Very evocative, yes.
And like the note that I put here was, if someone were to describe her as the Wicked Witch of the Southwest, you'd find that an apt description.
God, that just completed the mental image in my mind, just right there.
So she keeps she has naturally brown hair, but she of course has it dyed. It's been bleached, so it's sort of like ash and red gradients. Sorry. And it's kind of long. It goes to about her shoulders. And then she often wears jewelry that has like an eye motif. It's kind of more just for the scene. It's kind of her like thing of how she has that like inner third eye, because she's known for a bit of, I don't know, being able to like read the future. She doesn't like really. She doesn't, I guess, like promote that sort of thing. But the types of books that she writes, she'll like offer to give someone like a palm reading, although it's usually for more nefarious purposes later on, I guess, in terms of like feeding. But yeah, so I said like I had listed just a thing of like her main colors that you might see in the wardrobe are like reds, rusts, browns, grays, oranges, golds, and blacks. So
Yeah. So generally, highly regarded in this particular neighborhood as sort of very spiritual leader.
yes,
Uh,
and
yeah.
and I guess for the type of spiritualism that's kind of then a great way to check veins. A sort of more known for being a sort of weirdo, I guess, in that sense. If you're the sort of normal type of person just living in the suburbs, probably think like, oh, she's kind of strange, but we have a lot of strange people around here
Oh, yes.
thanks to those vortexes.
The weirdness seems to be centered on specific spots in the town.
Or outside of town. Yeah. Not to go too deep into, like, how you ended up in Sedona, but, let's see. Basically, there was this... Well, you want me to tell it, or do you want to tell it?
I can tell a little bit of it, and then if you think there's anything else to add.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, she had grown up in Salem, Oregon, probably, I guess, around, the 60s through the 70s. She ended up getting a journalism degree. She was really into writing and reading. Her main thing is writing, and she became a fan of a big horror author. So as she grew older, she kept in correspondence with them. That author ended up being her sire. But the situation between them was kind of toxic, since the author was kind of taking advantage of her being a fan.
Yeah, it was a very manipulative and controlling relationship from beginning to end.
Right. So sometime and around the 90s was when she was sired. She left in the mid 2000s, just packed up and went, and it seems like her sire had not decided to go after her. The horror author, whose name is known, hasn't really released a new book since she left. I think she released one book after she left, and then moved away. And the author was also known for being a recluse, so no one really knows where that author lives anymore. But she hasn't had any contact or anything like that with the author since leaving the relationship.
It's probably worth mentioning, as you moved away and kind of got the chance to learn more about vampire society, you're kind of left wondering if your sire had first really gained the right of progeny to have you, to create you.
Right.
And maybe she got in trouble for that.
Yeah, that's possible too. Because she basically, it was the type of relationship where she knew maybe basics of Camarilla society, but she never really met any other vampires, and really...
You were kept in a very gilded cage.
Yes.
And then the first chance you got, once you realized that you were being taken advantage of, you just bailed out.
Right.
And then you eventually found your way to Sedona, where you started blogging and writing about sort of new age spiritual matters. And while you actually do see a lot of the hidden things in the world, there's a lot of humans who are interested in the hidden things in the world, but the kind of irony is that they want those hidden things to be kind of safe and friendly and interested in them, so you kind of sell them on that fiction.
Yeah.
Sprinkling in just enough of the truth to be very compelling, but not enough to break the masquerade.
Right. The irony is she did do journalism by trade, but she finds herself more of a fiction writer. So even though her books under her current name are kind of considered nonfiction, that's a little bit of a misnomer.
Yeah. It's nonfiction depending on how you look at it and if you're in the scene.
Right.
So the night begins for
Going
you.
down.
Oblivious dealing with something in the background. The night begins for you. When the sun sets, the cursed blood in your body rouses you back to the prime of the year you were turned, restoring you. Every night, I'm going to say everyone's hunger starts at 1 at the start of this chronicle. And at the start of the day, I want you to rouse the blood, which is to roll a 1d10. So if you could roll that in the dice room for me. Just a straight 1d10, no frills. 6. That is a success. You successfully rouse the blood without getting hungrier.
Okay.
So your hunger stays at 1. Shortly after you wake up and get started with your day, do you have any plans for today, do you think, on this, let's say, weekday?
It's a weekday. Probably no big plans. I think she probably gets up and writes every day.
Yeah,
So
just,
she
just
probably
get up and start the writing process.
Yeah, checking her email, doing all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Oblivious, I noticed that you rolled into the chat too. I'm going to have
yeah,
everyone roll, but I just was going to have it do one at a time. But since you rolled a 4, that means when you wake up this evening, you wake up a little hungrier than you were the previous night.
Yeah,
Your
I need to
hunger
do
will
something
start
about that then.
But we'll get to that, but we'll just leave that roll as decided.
That's perfectly fine.
See,
So
so-
yes.
I think maybe she might be thinking of trying to get plans to get some people together maybe by the weekend, because by then who knows how hungry she'll be. But I think it's just going to be a pretty quiet, regular weekday as far as she thinks when she's waking up.
Of course. About an hour into your night, there is a knocking on your door.
Yeah, that's strange because people don't usually come around at night. Let's see. So I think she will go ahead and take a careful look out of the peephole of the townhouse that she lives in.
There is a man outside your door who looks like he is practically bouncing on his heels with excitement.
Let's see. Am I able to kind of use my abilities to kind of sense what's going on out there before I open the door?
Well, I think you're talking about disciplines, and let's talk about what kind of discipline powers you have.
Yes. So I have Auspex and Sense the Unseen.
Okay. Sense the Unseen and Premonition.
Oh yeah, I have Premonition also.
Let me just get my core rule book out and flip over to Auspex to read some descriptions. Let's see. Our first time, everybody. So, Sense the Unseen, you become attuned to dimensions beyond the mundane. So, you would, if like a vampire was using Obfuscate or someone else using, like any sort of like magic or supernatural thing in the area.
Like if you got a ghost in your house.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then premonition is sometimes you get premonitions like cryptic clues, or you can rouse to try and trigger it, provoke it.
Okay.
To focus on a subject, make a rouse check and roll resolve plus aspects. So if you suspect that there is something supernatural waiting for you outside the door, you could sense the unseen. Or if you want to try to trigger or provoke a premonition about this guy, you can rouse the blood and roll a check. What do you want to do?
I think I would just want to maybe sense the unseen just to see what I'm dealing with outside. Like, is this a supernatural being? Is it just some human mortal?
It's the worst possible thing. It's a fanboy.
You're not
It's
wrong.
yeah, that's also that's a possibility.
All right. If you're actively searching for a hidden supernatural entity or effect, roll a dice pool with your resolve and your aspects. Your dots and aspects plus your dots in resolve. That's the number of d10s you roll. And for the dice room, the dice code, a little trick to everybody. It automatically expands out to show the results there. You can also add like 5d10 S6, and that will count the number of dice that are 6 or above. That will count as successes.
And there's also hunger dice, right?
There's also hunger dice. Whenever you roll most checks except for willpower and humanity checks, a number of those dice become hunger dice equal to your hunger. For this system with the dice room, I'm going to say it's counting from the left. I'm going to take your first result from those. And because you had a hunger of 1, the leftmost result was your hunger die. You rolled a 10, a 5, a 3, a 6, and a 10. The 6 is a success. The 2 10s are, when you roll 2 10s, that is a critical success, and you gain 2 extra successes. So there are 5 successes in this roll. The problem is that on the first roll of the game, you rolled a 10 on a hunger die and a 10 on a regular die. So that is a messy critical.
Now, you could spend a willpower to re-roll your non-messy critical.
You could, actually.
But it would be funny, and we learn how to deal with something we don't want to deal with early.
Yeah, or she might just kill a plot hook right from the start.
I mean...
Just
So-
trades them dry.
You are generally, when you roll a messy critical, you are successful. You are fantastically successful. But your beast has a say in how that happens. Does anyone have any suggestions for how the beast would mess this up in just sensing the unseen proactively?
I was thinking it kind of rouses something weird and supernatural nearby that's unrelated to what's going on and kind of freaks everyone out in the air.
You sense the unseen so hard that let's see, generally you live in like a townhouse or something, right? Or someplace
Right.
where there's other people kind of near neighbors.
It's a duplex, so there's presumably another next door neighbor.
Yeah, there's a next door neighbor, and there's probably like a row of duplexes a little bit down the road.
Right.
Your beast is just just as much like into Auspex, mastering your Auspex as you are, and wants to know whenever there's something that could threaten it. Let's see. Need to look up something, which is always good news for you guys. I'm going to say that you are profoundly successful. That you can basically tell everything supernatural on like your block right now. And there is some of your neighbors have lingering effects of dominate on them. Probably from a vampire who fed on them and then had to wipe their memories or something. There is kind of a gust of ghostly energy kind of passing down the road, which is not in itself terribly unusual, but it's kind of weirdly close. There is nothing supernatural around this guy. But your beast isn't convinced. You suffer the compulsion of paranoia. The beast reminds you how vulnerable you are, and you cannot shake it. You try to disengage from any perceived threat, suspecting anyone and anything. Any action not taken towards that immediate end incurs a 2 dice penalty. This compulsion ends when you have spent roughly an hour in a safe spot, which is a rooftop with good visibility, your haven, or buried deep underground, for example. So, you know for damn certain that you cannot sense anything unseen around this strange man outside your door, but your beast doesn't want anything to do with it regardless. Your beast wants you to run and hide and not let anything get to you.
I slowly walk over to my laptop and close it, and then I walk into my bedroom.
Like your hands are kind of shaking a little bit.
Yeah, and then I walk into my bathroom, and then I close the door and I lock it, and I like sit on the side of the bathtub staring at the door.
The knocking continues, rather insistently and loudly.
Step 1, sit down on bathroom floor. Step 2, try not to cry. Step 3, cry immensely.
Not quite there, but sort of just like pupils dilated, hyper aware. Ears perked.
I'm going to sit there, and then I'm just going to try and close my eyes and do some of the mindfulness crap that I don't normally believe in.
This one time you're like, I might as well.
It's okay. I'm a good girl. I'm a good girl. I can do this. Hear a noise outside. I can't do this.
Then you hear the knocking again, but this time it's not at the door. It's at the window near the bathroom.
I was just about to say, this shit break in?
The person downstairs found a ladder.
Okay.
Your beast is not happy with this development.
Yeah. Even though this is my haven, it's starting to feel a little less safe. And in that case, I am going to just quickly unlock the door, and I am going to start to try to run out the front door now that the person is by the window, and maybe I can just get away from here.
All right. You want to very quickly scout out who is there and then GTFO?
Yeah, make sure they're not at the door, and then
Oh yeah, they
book it.
for the moment they are not at the door. The door is open, or not open,
Yeah.
but like the doorway, the porch
Clear.
is free and
Free,
clear.
yeah, clear,
The porch.
yeah. Yeah, I'm heading out that way.
Nice.
So let's say roll Dex Stealth.
Dex and stealth. Okay.
And that'll be your combined pips, that's the number of d10s you roll, and then add S6 to the code to count the successes.
That is 2.
That is 2. The leftmost one is a hunger die.
Two D10 S 6. Okay.
Okay. So you rolled a 1 on your hunger die.
Oof.
If you had gotten no successes on any other dice, that would have been a bestial failure, and that would have been even worse. But you got a success on your normal die, and so you're fine. You got 1 success on your Dex Stealth roll. You manage to scout him out and then get away, but he hears the footsteps at a delay. And he's like, Miss Lane? Miss Lane, are you there? And he starts running around the duplex. And hasn't made eye contact yet. But he has heard something.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't have a car, so I'm just going to try to book it.
You just go for it.
Just running down the street.
Yeah.
Just like
It
arms
really
like
is a
flat at your
fanboy.
sides, just machine gun
Yeah.
running down.
Yeah, just holding onto my bag.
That Terminator running down the road.
Yeah.
Let's say that's going to be stamina and athletics.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
We know that I'm good at those. That's another 2.
Another 2 dice pool.
Shit, I'm out.
Yeah. Oops, I did it wrong. Oh, I see what I did.
We're off to a great start.
We're off to a fantastic start.
This is wonderful.
Add a space in there. Almost
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I'm just as
You're
nervous.
just like stumbling. Uh-oh. You are the you can I will allow you if you want, because and especially because your beast desperately doesn't want to deal with this guy, you can rouse the blood to add 2 dice to your pool and roll another 2d10. I'll allow you to do that. You'll have to make a rouse check, but you'll get 2 extra dice.
Okay.
You don't have to. I'm just offering this as a suggestion.
I don't think I will yet, because I've still got other things on me that I can try before I think I'm that desperate.
That's fair. So you, even though as a vampire you're, you know, not like unfit, you're kind of like at the peak of your health as you were as a human at that point in your life, but you're not really the kind of like run and gun kind of person. And
Right.
It's been a while since you've been like chased down and you've had that sort of fight or flight. Also, you kind of got out in a hurry too, so it's like whatever you're currently wearing, you're just
Yeah.
kind of going out in that.
The footy pajamas.
So the man notices you and runs after you, saying like, Miss Lane, I'm a huge fan.
Starts running faster.
And he just keeps on following you, like down like another 2 blocks. And he is not giving up.
Okay. At this point, I guess with the fight or flight, we're gonna just let's throw a little fight in as I turn around and I grab the can of mace in my bag. And I'm like, hold on.
Now your beast doesn't really care about stopping this guy. It just wants to disengage. And
Okay.
this is not disengaging.
In that case, yeah, she's spraying it then.
You just just reach behind you, spray it, and keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what the beast would want.
Yeah, just waiting to get right in his face would take too much time. Just leave a cloud of mace behind you.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Let's see.
Poor guy, poor vampire.
That vampire's gonna be fine.
Let's say Dex, and for using the mace, I don't know. No, well, not technology. No. What would that be in terms of skills?
Maybe
That's a good
either
Firearms.
Firearms. It's a ranged weapon.
either firearms or brawl.
It's totally firearms.
It's a ranged weapon. Dex firearms, please. I believe that's another 2 dice pool for you.
Yes, it is.
1 success. All right. You leave a cloud of mace behind you, and this dumbass runs straight into it and starts, like, before the cloud has even started to dispel, and just starts coughing and tearing up. He tries to keep running, but he's kind of stumbling and bumping into, like, street signs and fences, trying
This is
to
eventually
follow you.
already turned into a Benny Hill chase.
He doesn't seem the least bit deterred, but physically he's not doing so hot.
I guess I'm going to keep running. I
think at
live
this point,
sort
if
of
you
near
just
downtown.
keep
Am I
running,
into
if you
Yeah.
just keep running,
Running.
you'll get away from him at this point.
Running.
Just-
Yeah.
Just keep
running.
swimming. Just keep swimming.
So you just keep sprinting, and eventually he loses sight of you, and you finally manage to lose him. So where do you go? The beast still needs somewhere to hide, like right now. Maybe like one of the havens of the other vampires in town, maybe.
Yeah, was that coffee shop a haven? I feel like that would be closest to downtown,
Oblivious?
and I don't know where it is.
It is a haven, isn't it?
Yes, it is a haven.
Okay.
That'd be obvious haven, though. He knows you're going to go there. For me.
There's people there that, well, people.
There's people at either location, but like the haven part is a secluded area, a secluded, secure area.
I see. Yeah.
Well,
There's like home base. There's like for a lot of these home bases you've got that you've built, there's sort of like in many ways a public area, and then there's like the actual haven part that is the secure location where everything's blacked out. You've got all the facilities you need, and you're reasonably certain that no one's going to be breaking in.
yeah,
So,
he's got a basement in the coffee shop.
Alternatively, just find a park and start digging a hole really deep.
I don't have a shovel. I'm not going to use my hands. What do you think I am?
I'm picturing like the Looney Tunes thing where he pulls up a thing of dirt and just covers themselves with it with a flower over it.
No, I think probably still the coffee shop, and I don't. I feel like she knows enough about it that she'd go there over like just a vet office that she wouldn't have as much reason to go to.
Or run all the way out to Kazimer's estate.
Yeah.
Or some shady van.
The shady
Yeah,
van is in the parking lot. Clinic.
Yeah, it is.
Why am I
I
going
feel
to a
like the
food
coffee
truck?
shop is easy enough, and she probably goes there enough to know Oblivious's character to at least like ask the favor of like, can I just sit in here for a little while? I'm having a hard morning. Or a hard
as
whatever.
Dean points out, just as a point of order and amusement, the Minecraft option of just digging a 12-foot hole and hiding in it for an hour would work because you don't have to breathe. You could bury yourself alive and you would be fine.
Yeah, but
A
I
little
might
boring
break
and
a
unpleasant,
nail.
but yeah, you might break a nail. It's not really worth it, you know.
I just go to the coffee shop.
You'll-
I'm picturing when you say 12 feet down, I mean I'm thinking straight down, just standing vertically, staring at the dirt. It's like, well, this is my life now.
yeah, putting another block of dirt over you.
And just imagine the scene when unburying self from hole.
Oh God, a zombie!
No, it's just me. Oh yeah, but yeah, this is also Sedona, so it'd just be sand and dirt, just everywhere.
Oh God,
not ideal.
It'd be itchy as hell.
Yeah. So you go to Gabriel Carter's coffee shop because you know that's a speakeasy for kindred, and he's got a small haven there that, you know, whether for a boon or just, you know, as a neighbor, would probably let you stay there.
Yeah.
So we'll call that the end of your little prologue, and boy, that got exciting real quick.
That got out of hand fast.
That was the best possible opening for this campaign.
I think
That was
so.
wonderful.
Just wow. So who would like to go next in this cavalcade of horrors? You just go straight to Oblivious as sort of the natural extension, or would someone else like to
Oblivious
have
can go
their?
next.
I
it
could
seems
do it if you want, but I'm gonna be laughing the whole time.
All right, we'll just go with Oblivious then. Gabriel Carter is, sorry. Yeah, it happened again. Yes, I'll need to change your clothes. Stop laughing. For the record, this hasn't really happened before for Sylvia. I'm gonna say that.
I'm pretty sure it's not the weirdest occurrence, but
No. But still kind of freaked out the beast. So, Gabriel Carter, the Brujah. Gabriel has a lifelong obsession with coffee. And like... Jawa dropped out.
uh-oh.
I'll be back.
Yeah,
Like...
There we go.
Like most lifelong obsessions, it started out as disgust. Where you were like, what is the point of... Why do so many people drink this black, bitter liquid? And you kind of went on a bit of a spirit quest to find out what was the deal with this liquid substance. And then the question kind of then became, why do so many people settle for crappy coffee, basically?
I actually have an answer to that question, by the way.
Oh?
Yeah, this whole thing started as a joke, but honestly, I did some digging and found out that there is a reason why our coffee is the way it is, especially at places like Starbucks. That's because of instant coffee after World War, specifically World War II, but it started before that. And essentially, the rise in popularity of coffee over tea was simply because people coming back from the war with a habit and is like, I need my coffee. And they basically got the same crap instant coffee that the military would use. And well, bam.
Well,
So, believe it or not, I actually learned something from all this.
thank you for subscribing to Coffee Facts.
This has been my TED Talk.
So, you kind of just went on a journey to learn how to make the best brews, basically, which turned out to be a lifelong quest, well into your 40s. And on the cusp of the turn of the century, your sire, who you didn't know was a vampire at the time, was kind of like, was kind of impressed with your like focus and work ethic, and said if you were offered more time, because you were getting on in years and you were kind of openly worried about like, well, I'm getting older, I don't know how much longer I can focus on this thing.
Got no
Your
family,
sire was
no
like,
kids.
if you were offered more time, would you take it? And you were like, well, yeah. I mean, if there was some way. And then you woke up the next night, you were dead. And it's like, well, damn, all right. You became an immortal vampire at 47.
Maybe not the ideal time for that to happen.
Some people have their midlife crisis in normal ways, and then some people.
You are cursed to have an eternal midlife crisis.
Less a midlife crisis and more an end life crisis now.
An unlife crisis, yeah.
Mid-eternity crisis.
And your sire, showed you the ropes and whatnot. You might be one of the few people here who actually had a decent relationship with your sire. Kind of a generally easygoing Brujah. And you inherited that bloodline. And then you struck it on your own to kind of keep on your coffee path, and eventually settled in the southwest U.S.
It's like, well, I don't have to worry about temperature anymore, so why not?
Tell us a little bit about your cafe.
Well, it's just a little small cafe with but it's not particularly huge. Just basically the size of a small house, as it were. And it's got a kitchen, full service kitchen that he runs at night. People during the day they just make the coffee. He's barista, head cook, as it were, and the bouncer.
And the owner, but yes, especially bouncer.
Yes.
The gift of potence was very kind to you.
Yeah. Well, I put it in his background that he was kind of running around doing odd jobs, so like, sometimes it involves intensive labor, and he got kind of strong.
Blue collar handyman.
Yeah.
The concept of a coffee shop needing a bouncer is really entertaining to me.
So, as a result of you setting up this cafe as a kindred, it ended up kind of being a good neutral ground for other kindred to meet and discuss. Basically kind of a speakeasy for vampires. It's still serving regular customers during most of the day, but at night, when basically no one is there, vampires come in for guaranteed safe space with, like, basically you would easily be a background character in someone else's campaign, where you run this clandestine meeting spot for them to meet their contact or whatever. You run that place.
Yeah, actually does. Now that I think about it, sounds like a pretty good supporting character.
Yeah, you have been the supporting character in a number of other vampires PC's campaigns. Is kind of how this turned out. And for Kindred, there's a special cover charge for using the space.
Yeah, he has a back door specifically for customers like that. So okay, pay the cover charge. I drink some of your vitae, and then free to do as you please. Well, mostly.
Which kind of freaks out some other vampires that you would ask to drink of them. And that they would expose their veins to you. But there hasn't been a whole lot of problems, right?
Not so far, and he's been there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure you don't drink from anyone who's got a hunger of 4.
Yeah, really.
Why is that? Share with the class.
Because I read in the book that when you drink from another vampire, the amount of hunger that you slake also gives them another level of hunger.
Oh,
so
yes.
if you slake a point of hunger from a vampire who already has 4 hunger, then that will bring them up to 5 hunger.
And they will go into a
put them
feeding
into a hunger
frenzy.
frenzy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well,
I
So-
don't
sure
want that to happen.
I'm sure he's smart enough to screen them. I was like, hey, fed recently and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I figure by now he's made enough mistakes to figure out what to do and what not to do.
So, you wake up this morning, you already rolled your rouse the blood, and you wake up a little bit hungrier, a little bit thirstier. You need some fresh blood. You hope that you have some kindred come in today.
Yeah, definitely.
So your hunger starts at 2 today.
Gonna try not to raise that any more than I have to.
And then one of the other kindred you know in town, Sylvia Lane, comes in through the back door. You hear the back door open, close. And, well, how do you look?
Me or her?
Her.
Bit disheveled from normal. I figure kind of not in the normal, like, nicer clothes that you'd recognize her in, just kind of in, like, I think there's still like nicer what would you call it, like that athleisure type clothing, but definitely not what she normally wears. It looks like whatever she would be around the house in, and she's just got on like kind of very regular shoes, and she's probably got like a bit of that like weird like peppery chemicals smell from spraying the mace, and she just does not look very good. And she's like, Gabriel, I've had a terrible morning and I just need somewhere to stay for just
Just like an hour.
just an hour or so. Do you have that room free? The
basement.
the one down there.
It's like, well, I just got up, so yeah, it's open.
Good. Here, and I guess she'll go ahead and. How does this work? I guess I'm sure she's done this at
Could
least a
probably
couple
just
times.
hold out your wrist.
Do
Well,
I just hold out the wrist?
Yeah, wrist is fine.
Here.
And he goes nom nom nom.
So you lean down to her exposed wrist. Your fangs your canines extend into fangs, and you bite into the vein and start to siphon it from her. And Vitae is far more delicious than even fresh human blood. It is tempting. It's very difficult not to drink more than you explicitly want to. Your beast would love to drain somebody. But for the moment, you keep under control. So you slake 1 hunger?
Yes.
The only way to go to 0, by the way, is to completely drain someone, kill them.
Which
So
is a
I'm-
huge no-no.
So So the way to stay in control is to always be a little bit hungry, unfortunately. There's no satisfaction. So, since you're all allowing this, there's no difficulty in this. So, Oblivious, you slake 1 hunger. Vermin, you gain 1 hunger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll have to fix that later.
So the hungers swap.
Yes.
Yep. And then Oblivious, Gabriel pulls up, licks the wound closed, and the saliva kind of just closes up the wound like it was never there and dries. And
Still not getting used to that. It's still kind of weird.
You're actually, I probably should have rolled that back. Your beast isn't happy with doing this because you're still in the compulsion of paranoia, and having another vampire feed from you is like, oh, this could go badly very quickly.
Mm.
Could you roll composure? Composure awareness. No, actually, no. Resolve. Resolve
Composure and
awareness to.
Oh,
Could
resolve
also
awareness.
do like composure, or composure resolve.
Yeah, like composure. Yeah, composure resolve to
Okay.
sort of like tamp down on your paranoid beast as he feeds from you.
Composure resolve is 5. 10 minus 6.
And that was at 2 hunger before this. You got 3 successes. 10. You got a 10 on a hunger die, but not a 10 on any normal die, so you're fine. You just got 3 successes. You managed to calm down the beast just long enough for this feeding to complete, and it leaves you feeling drained and thirsty. Your throat feels dry, more so than usual. But I assume you are now free to enter Gabriel's basement and just hang out there for a while until this passes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I go. Thanks, and I walk down into the basement, and I think I just kind of like lay down and start practicing those mindfulness things again.
And this time you remain uninterrupted.
Yeah, it's got a fairly sturdy lock and all that stuff for obvious reasons. Last thing he says
this is
like,
a haven. It's very safe.
It's like, just don't
Mhm.
break anything.
And
Yeah,
after an hour,
he's in
you'll be
his,
free of the compulsion.
Okay.
and he's in his there's not really a uniform specifically, but he's ready for the
Ready for the day's business.
day or night. Well,
Night's
it's all
business. Day, night, morning, evening. It's the nomenclature gets weird with vampires. Just have to kind of get used to that. But you are used to that. You guys have been doing this for at least 10 years each. In many cases, more so.
Let's see.
So we'll go ahead and leave that scene where it is for now and swap over to somebody else. Any volunteers? Otherwise, I'm just going to pick one of you. Well, all right. Let's go with Azure Mountain then. Let's talk about Dr.
Okay.
Bright.
Yeah. Dr. Bright, that's me.
Yes, indeed.
I am a surgeon, was a surgeon, am now a street surgeon.
Yes, you were kind of up and coming. You were pretty good in your field. And
Yeah.
your Ventrue's sire looked at you and said, "Ah, yes, this will be a very good candidate for my heir." You know, Ventrue are very concerned with their lineage and social status and whatnot. And so
successful young doctor, perfect target.
Yeah, exactly.
Except there's a catch.
Except that sometimes usually when like a Ventrue has, Ventrue's sire has a child with an E, their clan blood passes on, but not always. It's not really like a genetics thing. If you look at vampire blood under a microscope, there's actually nothing that looks any different. It's just cursed. It's all inscrutable magic. So sometimes it goes wrong for any number of ephemeral reasons. And once it became clear that you did not share the exact same gifts of the Ventrue, not even the same banes of the Ventrue, well, he was ripe for incredible embarrassment from his peers. And
you couldn't even make a proper Ventrue child.
Yeah, needed to make you disappear. Like, he had worked hard just for the right of progeny. And to sire a Caitiff of all things, that would destroy him in, among his Camarilla vampire peers. So he paid an exorbitant amount of money to basically kick you out to the other side of the country with nothing to your name, nothing but the clothes on your back, leaving you basically to die the next time the sun came up. With you like having just barely learned that you were a vampire in the first place, and now you have nothing, no money, nothing to your name. And he actually paid to
do hard.
And he actually paid to make it look like you died back home.
Yeah. Thankfully, he didn't actually kill me. But
no, he still had some pride that you were his child, and the traditions of the Camarilla, the right to kill another vampire is also very protected, and he didn't want to go through with all that process. Especially, that would be even more embarrassing. Like, hey, can I do a blood hunt on my child that I bragged so much about? No, he was not going to do that.
Yeah.
But he was going to basically, put a sack on your head and stuff you in a plane and drop you off in Nevada. So you had to basically learn how to survive on the streets.
Yeah. Thankfully, I had someone take me in and show me the ways. That person being Warren Steele, a drug dealer.
You learned how to survive on the streets from the criminal elements of Southwest America.
Yep.
And you learned to apply your unique skills as both a surgeon and a vampire.
So I made a living just reverse smugging people, not in the sense that I gave them money. I still took their money, but instead of beating them up, I made them less beaten up. And maybe also sold some non-essential organs to black market.
You basically roll around the southwestern U.S., kind of hanging around wherever there's generally high amounts of violent crime, and help patch people up when they can't go to a real doctor for whatever reason. And then you kind of take their valuables and sell them on the to your fences, and split the profits with your partners who help keep you safe.
Yep.
So your haven is kind of your van. You kind of like lock up and rest in the back of your van whenever the sun comes up.
It kind of looks like just a regular van with the windows blocked out, but it's actually much more secure than the average van.
Yeah,
because it's a haven.
It's surprisingly hard to break into. It's like armored in places.
And it's got like bulletproof everything. Because, gangs.
Yeah, if you were to the thing about having a car as a haven is that if someone like broke into the car while you were sleeping and like brought the sunlight in, you would immediately like burn to death.
Yeah.
So,
which notably, I do have a makeshift operating table in the back of my van, which doubles as a coffin for me to sleep in.
Yeah.
I might have forgotten to mention that on my sheet, but basically like a solid table but hollowed out on the inside.
Oh, that's even better, actually. So even if someone does break in, they're not going to immediately like check the solid table, the solid block of steel in the middle.
And it's pretty hard to tell that it's not actually solid.
A little cramped,
but better than being out where the sun could reach you.
Oh yeah,
good. That's actually a pretty solid solution. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, Jawa.
I can already imagine someone getting away with stealing the van, only then when night comes to realize there is a vampire in it.
Oh, that's got to be a terrible discovery.
That awkward moment when
that awkward moment
might have happened like early on.
You sure you haven't taken compromise on your haven yet?
I have not. No, I could have gotten an extra.
Why does this van have a vampire pest dispenser?
So we'll say that you've managed to avoid having your haven breached by anyone up to this point through a combination of like your like contacts looking out for you and generally parking in safe places. And
it was also like I gotten it a decent while after I'd already been on the streets for a while.
Yeah,
because I had to get the resources to get it.
Yeah. This was an expensive purchase.
Yeah.
But it
luckily I've got a decent amount of money and nothing else to spend it on. So
you don't exactly have to get like food and water. So
don't have an apartment or a house.
You just need to basically pay for gas and refilling whatever medical supplies you need.
Yeah.
It's not cheap, but
there is also one other thing I spend money on. The utilities that we'll get there.
My utilities.
Yep.
So your night begins. The blood arouses you, so roll a 1d10 for me, please.
All right.
Roll 1d10 for the pest dispenser.
Ooh, I failed.
You failed. You start the night with 2 hunger.
All right. So here's how this is going. This is how I'm feeling. My night starts out. So I'm currently parked in either the parking lot or the alley of Circe's veterinary clinic.
Okay.
Because that's where I park my van when I'm lying low. And the night before, I'd likely gotten some blood from surgeries and all that. So I've just got some in my van.
Yep, you operated on a young kid last night, in fact.
Yeah. I've got 2 separate piles, or actually 3 separate stashes. Got one stash that I've already tested for drugs and came up clean. One that has drugs in it, and one that is untested.
Because you're a vampire teetotaler for some reason.
Yep. Don't do drugs or alcohol.
Do blood?
Well, untainted blood.
If a vampire drinks the blood of someone who has who's drank alcohol or taken drugs, the vampire gets that kick.
Yep. Same high. And I don't want to do that. I like being in control. So what I do is I make an appointment to use the lab at the veterinary clinic to run my blood tests. And so I take the bags of blood that I haven't tested yet. And I also take one of the blood bags that I have tested just to snack on while I run the tests for these new ones.
Snack on.
Yeah. I mean, I woke up pretty hungry. Kind of hungry.
Yeah, just get a little midnight snack.
Yeah.
So as you're preparing to head into the clinic to do some work, there is a knocking on the back of your van. Just kind of quick rapping.
Let's see.
And you hear Frankie's voice saying, Hey, Bright, you up?
Yeah, I am.
All right, good.
What's going on?
He opens the van and climbs in. Frankie, last name, I forget.
Porter.
Frankie Porter.
Yep.
He is one of your closest partners in crime.
In game terms, my retainer.
Yeah, he helps you protect your stuff.
Yep. Just a regular gifted human.
Yeah, Frankie was a gang member turned drug dealer who realized he was a bit too smart to be a henchman.
Yeah.
Bit too capable to take orders. And so left his gang, much to the chagrin of his boss, and started working with you because you had a pretty good racket going.
Yep. And I'm also not on good terms with said gang and their boss.
You're kind of a mercenary, and when it comes to like gang turf and cartel turf stuff, no one really likes a mercenary.
Yeah. I don't pay them any dues. Because why would I?
Yeah, you just cut and run whenever you need to.
Yep.
So when Frankie comes in, kind of looking around, kind of nervously, and he says, "Hey, remember that kid you operated on last night? Kinda
Vaguely.
got stabbed.
Yeah.
Had a gold watch on him.
Mm-hmm.
You still got that gold watch?
Yeah, I should.
I haven't
gotten around to fencing it yet.
Good, because funny story, that kid, son of a cartel capo, turns out.
Ah.
And got a call from him. So grateful that, we saved his kid, but wants the gold watch back.
All right.
Oh, where is it?
I just toss it to him.
Oh, thank you. All right. Oh, I was not up for taking on the drug cartels today. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Just maybe like lay low here for week maybe.
Yeah, that should be simple.
Yeah, I'll be in town if you need me. You know how to reach me.
All right.
Yeah, thanks. And he has up the watch and heads out of the van. Have a good night.
You as well.
All right, and that's that. You are free to enter the clinic.
All right. Enter the clinic. I'm using the obfuscate silence of death so that I don't make sounds. Just walk in real quiet like.
So let's talk
about on a blood bag.
Let's talk about Dr. Circe Aislinn.
Yes, hello.
You were sired by a Gangrel back in the 70s, I think, right?
Yes.
You were originally staying at a zoo for your veterinary track. And there was some incident with like one of the big cats there that you handled fearlessly. And therefore got the attention of one Gangrel vampire who was very impressed with your apex predator bravery, basically. And within a few short days, embraced you, turned you into a vampire. And then, as some Gangrel vampires have want to do, let you fumble on your own for like a year.
Yep.
Just like law of the jungle, you figure it out, you know.
You either make it or you die. There's no in
survive,
between.
that's Darwin. Yeah.
Try not to burst into flames.
No, it's literally you make it or you die. That is the Gangrel way. That's it. There is no gray area.
And you weren't really cool with any of that. And even when he came back after a year, and you had kind of sort of figured things out, he was like, "Yeah, but you can go farther. You're the queen of the jungle now. You can feed on whatever you want. Lesser mortals, lesser vampires, the animals you take care of. It's all the world is our oyster." And you were like, "Fuck that."
The biggest finger to his face.
And you just kind of noped out of there and went west. And miraculously managed to resume your veterinary education, but this time changing from, like, you know, the big exotic animals to domestic animals to become a domestic veterinarian.
Yes.
Managed to take night classes to complete your education and managed to set up your own practice in Sedona. Sorry if I'm trying to make sure everyone has a bit of spotlight here.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, no,
I could totally put people to sleep with the large paragraph description I have of the vet clinic.
Oh no, it's sleep.
Oh yeah, how many advantage points did you put into that?
It's 3.
Ah, okay. So not too much.
Well, no, because we agreed that 3 was probably the most we needed. Going above that was stupid.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, 3 plus the all their points for the lab and the surgery and all that.
Yep.
Anyway, forgot to mention, Bright was sired in like 2010, so he's probably the most recent vampire out of everyone.
Probably the youngest, yeah. Still been around long enough that you've kind of established yourself and gained
good 10
allies
years.
and yeah. But anyway, so you set up this veterinary clinic, which had previously been a drug den before you got it. So it was a nice big 3-story building that was kind of on the cheap, and you turned it into a veterinary office.
Yes.
With a nice, safe, secure haven with all the amenities you need on the top floor.
Yep.
That no one else is allowed in.
There's only one other person with access to any floor above the bottom one, and that is the practice manager for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Entirely business.
So, you have a good number of points in Animal Ken, right?
I'm at 1.
Got one?
I got 2.
All right. But generally, this is your specialty.
Yes. Medicine I have 4 with veterinary as the specialty. And phlebotomy, but you know.
Yeah, you are like practically top of your field, especially in a small town like this. You are basically the only game in town. And frankly, some other people come from like the neighboring towns, driving anywhere between 1 to 3 hours to make appointments with you. You've got a pretty solidly booked business going on. But also, you're kind of one of the prominent vampires in the underworld of this town. Because you have a you have a fortress of a haven as these things go. Like, the only one who's got you beat is Kazimer, but that's because he's got a whole wing of a mansion to himself.
Listen, I spent most of my points on this haven for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So you've got a stronghold here, even though it's kind of already on like the police radar with the previous like drug den ownership. But, you know, what's a couple of points for the compromised flaw?
It just means that I'm on a first name basis with the local cop.
You kind of get the cops called on you a little bit here and there because even though you're a good vet clinic, your building still kind of has that sort of like bad part of town skeezy facade to it.
And like a third of them are because of my van.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was gonna say there's literally most of them are called because it's like the creeper van in the corner. It's like, yes, I know the van is there. It's fine.
I'm not a bad person.
No, your van is though.
Yeah. I just
your van specifically
have a
has
very
the creepy
particular
flaw.
Yep. It's quite
I mean,
creepy.
the van's not a bad person. It's not a person.
Exactly.
Fair.
No, it could be a bad person. It could be a really shady transformer in disguise.
Ah.
Transformers.
What a haven
what
that
the
would be.
fuck, you guys?
Uh,
All right.
Anyway,
So you head in through the back. What is Circe's current activity reaction to this?
I feel like if he's coming in sneakily, like she's probably the only one that really notices that he's going and is in the middle of something. And probably
So let's roll it back. Let's start with your evening. Roll 1d10 as you rouse the blood. You rolled a 4, which is not a success.
Nope.
You start with 2 points of hunger this night.
Which means it's starting off to be a great night.
yeah.
Yeah. Just kind of hunger all around, really.
I mean, I've got portable snacks.
Yeah, but you're a bagger, and not everyone's into that.
Yeah. Most people aren't.
No,
Ventrue especially.
I just
They hate it.
So yeah, going back, I cut you off, Azure, but you said you were using what's it called? Sounds of Death?
Yeah. Basically, don't make sounds outside of like yelling really loudly or tossing things elsewhere.
Does that require a roll or a rouse?
That is free.
Okay.
Yeah. I can just find the page that it's on, wherever that is.
That's a celerity, right?
No, it's obfuscate.
Oh, it's obfuscate. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Let me just go ahead and check myself just to be absolutely sure. Sounds of Death,
Yep, cost free. Silences their footsteps, clothing, minor collisions, and other sounds of their person.
all right.
Undetectable if you could only be noticed by sound. Does not eliminate the sounds the user makes outside of their personal space.
Outstanding. So what is Circe currently doing as he walks in through the back?
She's probably finishing up with a patient and bringing it out to the front to hand off to one of the techs to give it back to their owner.
So
Okay.
chances are she's probably just going to walk into the lab, find me there, and be like, what the heck, man?
Can you knock? Please?
I mean, we already made an appointment.
With
Today I get to use the lab.
Fine. Whatever. She probably calls out to... Because she's already now in a bad mood because she's hungry.
Yeah. Just like, throat is parched
And then
today.
just add Dr. Bright into it. It's like, okay.
This is already starting off a great day, yeah.
So she's going to actually call out to two of the techs who are around. One who's probably leaving and isn't night shift. And says, okay, this is Dr. Bright. Don't bother him. Don't talk to him. He's here. Don't worry about it. And then the other is night shift. And it'd be like, honey, we need to talk for a little moment, please. And like bring them towards the back to a private room.
Some of
Okay.
them probably know me. By the
night
way,
shift definitely knows you.
yeah, appearance-wise, I am always wearing a lab coat. No one's ever seen me without it. It's got a broken stethoscope sewn onto it, like around the neck. And it's got more blood than it should have on it, but not as much as you'd expect.
I'd expect 0, but okay.
Well, I mean,
You don't get to wash it that often.
yeah.
Circe was in her coat, but it's mostly just in her scrubs at this point because scrubs are really comfy.
Yeah.
So
I just like the look of the lab coat, so that's all I wear. Aside from regular clothes underneath.
Seriously, you take one of your night shift crew to the back?
Yup. We're solving this problem fast before the night gets worse.
All right. Since which do you have a name for this guy? Or girl?
This will be Cedric.
Cedric. All right. Cedric's like, oh, is it kind of a bad morning for you?
Yes, and Dr. Bright has made it worse, please.
Well, based on who I saw in the parking lot, it's probably gonna get even worse. I hate to just giving you a heads up now.
Who's here?
Oh, is it Wolfgang?
No, I changed his name.
No.
Just get it over with, Cedric. Who's here?
It's Christine McKenzie.
Who's that?
That is the
I stage whisper to Circe.
I don't know.
I don't think you're in the same room for this. I think this is happening like a separate back room. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't feed in front of another vampire.
No, we're specifically
point.
going
Fair
into like I could bring up the the giant floor plan I found on the internet of the West Clinic that I'm using.
Yeah. I forgot that it was mentioned that they went into a different room.
Yeah.
Christine McKenzie is wife of someone on the local council, like a Sedona kind of town council type position. Is part of the local neighborhood watch and member of one of the homeowners associations in Sedona.
It's probably about Bright's van.
Yeah, and she brought apparently it looks like she was carrying her poodle again.
That beast is a nightmare. Okay. All right.
Anyway, sorry. I can probably only give you one more for a few days, for probably not till next month, because I'm kind of starting to feel a bit woozy. But I can give you this one, just a sip.
It's okay. I just need a little. It's fine. I'm sorry to do this to you.
Nah, I get it. He rolls up his scrubs and holds out his wrist for you.
Gentle chump.
The gentlest vampire chump.
One treats, like, I don't want to use it, but like essentially like one treats the lover because she's very nice to the people she feeds off of.
And it feels great for them. I don't think I mentioned this enough when Gabriel was feeding off Sylvia, but the vampire's capital K kiss feels ecstatic for the victim. Sylvia didn't really care because, one, she was losing her vitae, and two, her beast was all like, what the fuck is going on? So that kind of tamped down on it a bit. But
this is not what we discussed.
This is probably what adds on to it in Circe's case, just because she makes sure it's all consensual and she's very gentle about it.
Still, he's kind of like, oh god. And once it's done and you kind of lick the wound closed, he's like, oh, man, I shouldn't be as into that as I am, but whoa. All right. Oh, that's bracing. All right.
Back to work, Patrick. It'll be a lovely night. I will deal with Miss McKenzie.
Honestly, thank you. I don't think I'm going to have it in me after that.
It's okay. That's what I'm here for.
In a way, this place is still a drug den. Kind of. Yes, Din. All right. So, you walk back out into past the lab and then back into the lobby. It's late. It's the night shift. There's not a whole lot of people here. It's basically just your crew and then this
lady with the heathen of a dog.
This very like important, trying to look important lady as much as possible. This is like Mega Karen. This is like first phase of the final boss Karen.
Making me deal with a Karen. Thanks, Spud.
You're welcome.
And she's all like, I know we've talked about this, but the van in the back looks real sketchy. Feel like a bunch of drug dealers could come out of that at any time. I don't know why you just don't get rid of them.
I mean, technically speaking, they do.
Well, only one of them's a drug dealer.
Well, I do hear your concerns, Miss Mackenzie.
I don't want to hear you hear my concerns, okay? I get that line. I don't buy it, all right? I want to know what you're going to do about this.
I've had discussions with the owner of the van. They are my concerns. I do understand that you are worried about the neighborhood, Miss Mackenzie. I truly do. Don't worry, I have a handle on it. You won't need to worry about it. How is Muffy doing? I heard she had a really bad case of the worms last week.
Yes. Muffy.
I did tell you not to feed her that food. Come now, Miss Mackenzie.
Well, excuse me, but my little prince here deserves the best, don't you agree?
There's a difference between there's a difference between what's best and what's veterinarily approved best. If it's causing damage to Muffy's
but I read online that
Oh no. Oh no.
And she goes into this insane sounding theory that just like your brain shuts off in self-defense hearing this.
Well, Miss Mackenzie, that is truly fascinating. I will have to look into those theories online. However, when you are able to come up to me with your veterinary degree, I will most certainly take your words a little bit more seriously in the terms of veterinary medicine. I do hope you have a good night, Miss Mackenzie. Have a nice night. I hope. While I do love seeing you, I hope we don't, because it means that little Muffy is sick. So have a wonderful night. Pushing out of the clinic.
This isn't the end of this. Sorry, I have to cut away for a second, Vermi. I read on dog goop. Oh. Goop for dogs sounds torturous.
What the hell is that?
Goop. Gwyneth Paltrow's alternative health brand.
Oh, that crap. Oh,
the legendarily bad one. Imagine that, but for dogs. No, I don't think I will.
Oh no! Please no.
Please come back to me when you have a veterinary degree that you've spent twice the amount of time that you actually needed. Please get on my level through multiple changes of technology.
The current trend is essential oils are great for dogs. Ugh.
But I'm a certified dogologist.
No.
I want to cry.
I'm sorry to have unleashed this hell upon you.
No, I adore it. Don't worry about it. You know I'm a drama queen.
This is great. This is all kinds of great.
Like this is the kind of crap vampires deal with in a small town.
I deal with this daily.
And actual health professionals deal with all the time, every time.
They're fun. Don't let anyone joke. This is actually really fun.
It's not COVID, it's a rash.
All right.
Sadly, I've heard that.
So all that happened.
Listen, she's so used to dealing with Miss Mackenzie at this point. It's like, okay, thank you. I'll take a note of it, and we'll talk about the next time you come in, or the next neighborhood association meeting. Good night, Miss Mackenzie.
All right. Which just leaves Jawa, Kazimer Grigori's character. Kazimer Grigori, your character.
Yes.
You are possibly the oldest vampire
Almost certainly, yes.
in this group.
I imagine he rides us out of a coffin doing that hinge door swinging, rising vertically.
He would probably try and make a point of doing that just for kicks and giggles.
Do it.
Just stand up with his arms wide open. Oh,
Nice.
That's kind of something more like elders do these days.
well,
when they're not being called away by the beckoning.
Well, I'm sure he's like, oh, I'll by myself. Let me go ahead and practice this.
I mean, Kazimer has the money to set up that for himself.
I mean, if he can't pull it off naturally, he could pay and probably would pay for the mechanisms to enable him to imitate the move.
He's got a wire fighting team on call in his mansion.
Also,
a very elaborate series of hooks and wires. Also,
Din in the chat spelled Mackenzie MAC capital KENZEIGH. And I had it spelled Mackenzie as in MCKENZIE, but Mackenzie sounds far more appropriate.
Fine.
I believe it's spelled Karen.
Karen McCarran. All right. So Kazimer Grigori is a Russian expat. You were embraced, I wouldn't say at like the height of the Soviet Union, but like kind of at the part of the roller coaster where gravity starts to take over, basically.
Yeah, I'm thinking that there's at least part of his history where he was part of the KGB, because I'm imagining there would be some sort of useful interconnection there, like they would find use for one another, those who are in the know.
Well, the thing about Russian vampires, especially during the Soviet era, was that it was mostly a Brujah council, and the Ventrue princes were among the targets slaughtered during the initial revolution. You were embraced after that by a surviving Russian Ventrue. And you were kind of more adaptable enough that you figured out a way to sort of infiltrate and profit off of everything that was going on in the Soviet Union at that time. You had it pretty good. Pretty good is putting it mildly, in fact. When a lot of the Soviet Union, especially on the poor level, was suffering, you were finding ways to profit off of all the chaos, including making inroads with the other vampires in the area.
He got a lot of his current wealth and that rising alongside the other Russian oligarchs that came out of the
Soviet Union, yeah.
Yeah.
And then in around 1990, you were starting to run into a few roadblocks. The Brujah Council, at its most fractured, especially with Gorbachev in charge of the country. Am I getting my timeline right? I don't know. Whoever was... The Brujah Council was starting to fracture and descended to infighting, and they were not really keen on the other vampires like the Ventrue, who were trying to make inroads and take advantage of them, and things were getting heated there. Yeah, Gorbachev who was in charge when the Union fell. Yes, all right, good. And then an ancient Nosferatu known as Baba Yaga awoke in Russia. And like 1,000-year-old ancient, terrifying Nosferatu with incredible power. And started to take that motherfucker over, I believe is the technical phrase. And that was kind of the moment, especially as your connections were starting to strain, that you were like, nope, I'm out. And you flew out to the United States and left Russia behind, your homeland, your motherland.
Yes. And he's currently hiding in one of the most unlikely places so that anyone from the old country trying to find him is less likely to do well. Actually,
Go from snow to desert.
Actually, I suppose that wouldn't really work because he's still, well, unless he's living under a different identity.
Well, you got out there just as things were getting real bad in Russia for basically everyone in the underworld. Baba Yaga was a terrifying and deadly force who basically killed whoever didn't fall in line. And you kind of got out of there just as that was getting bad. And so managed to dodge that.
He noped right on out of there.
Thankfully, the Baba Yaga was destroyed in 1999-ish. But by then...
Sorry, I had it cut out there for a moment, sorry.
Thankfully, the Baba Yaga was destroyed in 1999. But by then, the Brujah Council had been completely decimated, and now it's basically Camarilla and Sabat kind of fighting over modern Russia at the moment. You kind of had to sacrifice a fair bit to reinstall yourself in the United States, but managed to do so. Like, as at the end of the Cold War, so when things were kind of healing and it wasn't weird to be a Russian in America anymore. But and you've kept whatever wealth you didn't keep from your ill-gotten gains in Russia, you've managed to build back in America because it's remained delightfully, horribly capitalist. So you found no shortage of ways to enrich yourself. And you have set up base in Sedona, your main sort of home and base in Sedona. Nice quiet town where you can be, well, not like, the prince in all but name you were, but, as far as you're concerned, you're the most important vampire in northern Arizona.
Well, all right then. So,
and it's not like you doubt that any of your peers from Russia are going to be coming back because the Baba Yaga ravaged them, and then 9/11 happened, and it's kind of harder for a vampire to just buy a coffin on a plane to fly across the ocean. So you're kind of stuck here as well.
Also, more importantly, why the hell would any of them come to Arizona?
That's also true. No, none of your old Ventrue Brujah pals would really probably not want to come looking for you, and also not look for you in Arizona. I mean, they could probably.
If they were going to go to North America, they'd probably.
He's also doing a very strange version of lying low while not actually lying low at all.
Yeah, and this whole thing with the Second Inquisition has also kind of... Sorry, the chat. Just Din miming out you dramatically laying on an enormous pile of money. Oh, I'm no longer a prince of the wild north. Nothing left to my name. No honor, no prestige. Truly, this is the hardest life. Servant, fetch me my crying cravat.
That is probably more true to life for him than you might think.
You are a tremendously rich, tremendous jackass. It's kind of how I envision you.
I mean,
Also,
it's-
only feeds on those who are in misery or poverty.
So everyone.
Yeah. He also slick talks them into actually doing it.
Yes, he gets his thrills by manipulating the lowly into willingly giving up their blood. One of the few things they can still call their own.
Schadenfreude bleeding.
Yeah, you're terrifyingly bad. But anyway, your day begins
said-
or night begins. Sorry.
Well, you mentioned Oblivious as like the side character of someone else's campaign. I'm easily imagining my character is like the villain of someone else's campaign.
You're a mid boss.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
not quite final boss, but definitely like sort of
He'd
like on
be
the
a-
Council of Evil.
He'd be a recurring villain at the very least, provided the heroes weren't motivated to kill him off at the first time they meet him.
Yeah.
Mid-boss isn't the name of a character in Metal Gear Solid, is it?
What is?
Sorry, I had a strange thought. It's like I know there's Big Boss, but there's not a mid-boss.
Mid-boss?
In
No,
Mid-boss.
there's no mid boss. No.
He is
That'd be
mid
funny.
boss.
I think
mean,
mid-boss.
I know that there are mid-bosses in the game, but not literally. I was wondering if
There's
they were-
no person going by the code name mid boss. No.
That would be hilarious.
There's a character in
That's more of a
Disgaea.
that's more of a Disgaea thing than a Metal Gear thing.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot all about this guy.
Entirely the joke I was making. Thank you, Murray.
Oh, I forgot all. Okay, I'm gonna go look that up now. Thank you.
So anyway, the night begins in your McMansion, a short ways out of town, out of Sedona proper. This somewhat private land with private security guarding it, and your night begins. Yeah, the McMansion of Solitude. Yeah. Roll 1d10 for rousing the blood at the beginning of the night.
All right, let's do this. 1d10 S6.
Did not succeed. You start with 2 hunger this night.
Only one person actually succeeded on their roll.
That is true.
and then it ended poorly for them.
And they are one of the only people that have more than 1 hunger now.
What are you talking about? My hunger's taken care of.
Yeah, no, I'm saying the only person who succeeded on their roll was
I'm handling my hunger.
Vermin, but she now has 2, and the rest of us have 1, except for Kazimer still has 2 because he hasn't gotten any yet.
How many blood bags does it take to slake a point of hunger?
1 bag is 1 point.
All right. So yeah, you've
Yeah.
I can believe that you got a stash that you can just draw on.
Yep.
Although it's running low, I'll say. Just so I have something to work
Yeah.
with there. I don't want to have to be like, okay, you got another point of hunger. Psych, I just gulped down another, you know.
I mean, in all fairness,
another
after
Capri Sun of blood.
in all fairness,
I mean,
you have to refrigerate that, and after a while, it's just not going to be good.
well, I can. The Iron Gullet feat advantage is really good because it even lets you consume rotten blood. Quite the thing.
Yeah, you can take blood however you get it. That's kind of the.
Yeah.
Even though you prefer, as long as it doesn't have, it's as pure as possible. It doesn't need to be fresh.
Yeah. Iron Gullet. You can feed from cold blood, rancid blood, and fractioned plasma.
Oh my gosh.
No resonances, though.
I mean, I imagine when you're that desperate, that's probably the least of your work.
Yeah.
All right, getting sidetracked. So yeah, you can slake a point of hunger with your spare blood bags.
Yeah.
Back to Kazimer. So you wake up, you're a bit hungry today. You wake up and you got the whole like wing of your mansion. Your entire mansion isn't your haven. It's only 2 dots but you do have like a wing that's especially modified so that you have an entire like part of the house where it's safe for a vampire to walk around and be secure and kind of basically separated from the rest of the house.
And
No
it means
windows,
he can do
thick
more
doors,
than just
thick
sit
walls.
around in his room and wait for the sun to go down.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he'll be asleep, most likely.
Well, some of the business you conduct has to be when the sun is up and you have to exert willpower to do that.
Yeah. Or you can
Uh,
just live in a van and do everything at night.
Remind me of your retainer's name. Jawa?
Her name is Cynthia Sinclair.
Right. She is the leader of the private security you've got protecting your building.
Well, I mean, she does that, but she's also a bit apart from that because there's also the boss who is more directly in charge of it,
She's like the overseer.
or like his
She's your contact point.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
She-
what is the organization of your private security like?
Well, what do you mean as far as organization?
Like, are you just hiring them out, or are they like, do you kit them out yourself with your own money, or what?
I mean, yeah, they are direct hires.
So you're
I'm-
hiring from a private security company.
Well, no, I'm thinking like they don't work for a separate company. They work for him directly. So
Because if I recall correctly, they are like an actual dot in his haven.
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean the only one he's probably really, I mean, met with in person aside from maybe a casual, cross by is the boss, and otherwise he counts on his retainer and the boss to hire the right people for that job.
Gotcha. So you've kind of delegated that out.
But the payment goes directly from his resources. I mean, their paychecks are drawn directly from his resources rather than paying some outside company to do it.
Gotcha. Okay. Would Sylvia Sinclair act at all like a personal assistant, or do you have someone else for that?
No, she's like also. I mean, she's also like she's, I guess, a right hand minion or hench person or something, or
So not like the leader of the actual like bodyguard force is someone else, but this person is like the one that's assigned to you.
She runs like everything else.
well, as I mean,
That
I guess in a
Cazimer doesn't.
like the more I
handle
thought about
directly.
this about the character, and it did turn out this way. I'm imagining him a bit like a Bond villain, but a vampire, sort of like laying low in a sense. And she's like that name person, that name mini boss that's the like
The number 2 henchman, yeah.
Am I still? Oh, I think I may have got disconnected.
No, I can hear you. Or not. Nope. Yep. There we go. No, I don't mean.
Oh,
no.
there it is.
Yeah, there we are. You're back now.
All right.
So yeah, we got that. She's the number 2 henchman. So
I mean, this is more a thing I'm thinking. I mean, kind of an idea that developed after we initially talked. But there's a part of me that wonders if she'd be something that long-term, Kazimer would consider, hey, is this someone maybe I can turn at some point? But one, there's a matter of permission, and two, it might spoil the relationship they already have.
All right. So that's kind of a background detail you're considering.
So he likes her.
He does.
Aw, that's cute.
And, you know, when a vampire likes someone, that always turns out great, right? It turned out great for the rest of you. But anyway, Sylvia basically informs you that you have a visitor.
Some crazy lady pepper sprayed me earlier. Can you help?
I don't think he would go for the richest man in town.
You don't know crazy people. They might.
Or is it Cynthia Sinclair? Or
yes, there. I typed it out, so it is
right.
Cynthia.
Sorry about that. I got that
Okay,
mixed
that makes
up.
it easier on me. I kept going like,
I was about to say, oh no, do we have two Sylvia?
All right. So yeah, do you acquiesce to see this visitor?
Who is it that has come to visit me?
You're just gonna do the stereotypical vampire voice. That's what
He
we're
literally
doing.
said that in session 0.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
did.
I braced myself for that, so I'm fine.
I was not braced.
I knew it was coming, but it didn't
I
Brace.
knew this was coming, bud.
You never saw it coming.
Yep, demonetization.
Yeah. It's that contact from Phoenix, Kane. And you recognize that name because that is an Anarch Tremere that works for Baron Daria.
Or works for the Baron from
Phoenix.
Well, I suppose it would be I suppose it would be rude not to let who is it you said?
Kane.
Not to let him in.
All right, I'll just... You would like to take the meeting in here on this side of the mansion?
What a name for a vampire.
Well, I mean, it was the name of
Well,
the original.
he is a vampire.
Exactly.
I mean, he is a vampire contact, right?
Yeah, Kane.
Yeah. Oh, it's
I imagine-
spelled Kane, not Kane as in and Abel.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine that among the places in his secure place would be somewhere where he could meet with important people.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got
Do you
plenty of
think
room
Kane
for
is a popular name for vampires?
No.
Or do you think it's kind of like sacred, don't take this name?
that. This man was named Kane before he was embraced and decided to stick with it despite
All right.
other vampires getting weirded out about it.
It's also spelled differently, so it helps.
Yeah, but not everyone will see your name written down.
Yeah.
Yes, please show him to my office.
All right. Cynthia leaves, and then a minute later, in your meeting room in your mansion,
On the door, it says Dr. Acula.
not so much, but I mean, without everything else about him, it might as well be. This pale man who otherwise looks like he walked straight out of a hard-boiled detective noir film walks in wearing like the hat, the trilby, and the trench coat and everything.
You hot in
In,
the desert, sir?
come in. Can I offer you anything?
Kazimer, we've talked about the speech therapy thing. Have you considered it?
I have no idea what you are talking about.
Okay.
Your accent, dude. What accent?
It's totally natural. I don't see why anybody thinks it's weird.
Okay. Well, now I ate before I came here. I'm good. Do you mind if I smoke, though?
Sure, use this money as a lighter. Just has a candelabra on the wall, lights a dollar bill on fire, and then holds it up to the cigarette or cigar.
I was drinking.
There's a part of me that wonders if he might actually do that, but I'm thinking this person probably isn't important
Probably
enough to
wouldn't
go
be
that far.
Well, he is. So you know that this man is basically what's known in Anarch domains as a sweeper, kind of a census taker and observer for Anarch barons, who basically make sure that they know where everyone is and what everyone's doing, and no one's bringing danger upon the domain.
Nobody's frenzied.
He reserves using money as a lighter for people like the Baron herself.
Dario was never impressed whenever you do that with her.
It is funny though.
He does it. He does it on occasion, either when he doesn't do it very much. Do it for her very much anymore. But,
it's more impressive to people who are below you than kind of like higher than you in the authority.
But I mean, why would you want to impress people below you? They don't matter.
That is true.
They do
unless they work for him. Then it's a bit more important to keep those people impressed.
He decides to Scrooge McDuck it when the servants are cleaning things. But you got to do that.
Kane just lights a cigarette and takes a puff of it. It doesn't really do anything for him, but he's kind of just kept this habit from back when he was alive, and it helps make him appear at least slightly more human.
I have a flaw. I have to maintain this noir aesthetic.
So what brings you to Sedona?
Well, nothing terribly pressing. Things have been pretty good. At least we've heard from here for a while, but with the NSA and whatnot cracking down, we want to make sure that no one's getting too comfortable. You feel me?
Of course, I understand exactly what you are talking about.
There's kind of a look on his face where he's like, do you? Just kind of slight raise the eyebrows, really? And then he says, I want you to call a meeting of the other vampires in town and let them know that Baron Daria has ordered an audit of the domain. Which is to say, basically you're going to be checking on them and checking for any, the camera would say Masquerade violations, but anything that would tip off First Lights or any of those organizations about what we are, who we are. We're going to be checking into everybody in town.
I will make that my highest priority right away.
Thank you. And we don't really, obviously we're warning them, and, we've been defensively monitoring this whole time. Topaz has been on, watching everybody's social media and whatnot. That blogger in town, the YouTuber in town. But, things have just been a little too quiet, and we want to make sure that nothing's brewing that could cause trouble. And if people want to hide stuff from us, that's fine, but we're going to be digging as deep as the NSA would, at least as much as we can. So I just want to make sure everyone is behaving healthily for everyone's long-term safety.
I'm sure the news is passed along.
Thank you. You guys do like a monthly meeting or something like that? Actually, I'll open that up to the whole table. Do you think like the vampires of Sedona have like a town meeting or something like that?
Most likely, I would imagine.
Call me if it's important. Busy.
Yeah. Most people skip it and just have other people tell them what happened.
Circe specifically makes Dr. Bright go because she can't.
And half the time I don't.
What well-oiled machine we have here.
Yeah.
Listen, she has reason to not be there. She's got stuff to do.
And Bright just kind of doesn't really care.
She's got a practice to run.
Would it be reasonable to think that
So do I.
Kazimer has a basic knowledge of all the vampires in the town?
Oh yes, everyone kind of knows who the other vampires are in this town. There's no one who's like operating kind of in secret. The exception would be kind of like the roamers like Dr. Bright, who
But you know about him because of Circe.
But who are often out of town, working in other, working in some of the neighboring towns. But even then, like, when they're in town, everyone knows.
Actually imagining Kazimer getting in his car and driving around town to go visit each of the vampires in person to deliver the news.
Oh.
That would be
Cedric comes up. There's this weird guy asking for you. Send Fiona out. I'm going upstairs.
Batter he goes around. Sometimes he gets out to deliver it. Other times, because I imagine that they know him. They know who Cynthia is. So
I
weird
feel like
it
would probably be easier to have just like a weekly or monthly like meeting in a regular looking place that no one's watching too closely, and just
right,
like
I feel like it would be pretty funny if he just paid some archer to just tie a note around an arrow and just shoot it at people's doors.
funny, but incredibly conspicuous once the cops get involved.
Yeah.
It's on the list of things he'd love to do, but knows he can't get away with.
Someone threw a rock through my window. Wait, no, this is an emerald, and there's a dirt attached. Damn it,
It's through my window.
Just the most expensive vandalism.
Yeah.
So,
Why is there a tin of caviar attached to this thing?
He knows we don't eat.
I know.
It's not about the caviar. It's about sending a message.
before we get too off track,
Too late.
Kane takes another puff of his cigarette and says, "And how about you, Kazimer, Mr. Grigori? Can't help but notice that your assistant bodyguard there seems kind of familiar with our sort of thing."
Trying to think what would the right answer be to say there.
They're either a thrall or a ghoul.
I was
I would
thinking as
assume.
like
Or I deal with so many strange people, they've learned to not ask questions.
I mean he is kind of weird.
Or I pay them enough to not ask questions or think about anything all that much. You're rich enough to get out of everything.
Like a good Good quote that Vermin just posted. It's one window, Cynthia. How much could it cost? 20,000?
Depends on the
Boy.
kind of window, honestly, and what kind of glass it is.
Yeah.
Like, no kidding. We have a bit of a side thing. I work security, and it's a rich person's apartment. And the guy who drives a gold painted SUV had one of his windows broken. Passenger window, about $2,000.
Oof.
As you're kind of considering the question, Kane says, "It's not that we're not the Camarilla. We don't necessarily think that no mortals should know, but the mortals who do know have to be trusted or controlled
Well,
in some
if
way."
it's a matter of trust, believe me, I trust her with my life.
I've paid her
That's-
enough to be loyal to me several lifetimes over.
And on the off chance that she isn't trustworthy, what's your contingency there?
More money.
More money.
After all, loyalty's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of his convictions.
Well, if there were any chance of that, I wouldn't trust her with my life.
He kind of visibly resists the urge to rub his forehead and says, "All right, that's the kind of thing we're going to be looking into. Just so you understand. Conflicts of interest, means of control, contacts, communications. Just keep an eye out, and I don't have to come down here again. Deal with you, frankly." He puts out a cigarette and,
Don't put it like that. I always love it when you pay a visit.
oh, I'm sure. He is disrespecting you in your home at this point.
I like to imagine that Kazimer is well aware of the irritation that he causes and just revels in it.
I mean, sure, he's disrespecting Casimir in his own home, but it's his home. He's super rich. He's rich enough not to care.
Rich enough not to care.
How high is your composure, I guess?
2.
Sounds like it should be higher.
Well, he's got the higher points in charisma, manipulation, intelligence, and wits.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
Bright's got the high composure.
I think I've got 3 dots in composure as well.
I've got the 4.
I got 3 in composure.
All right, and with
Well,
that,
It's okay. You can pay other people to be composed.
With that, Kane leaves, and you are free to resume your business. How do you go about gathering the vampires for this announcement, this public service announcement?
Carrier pigeons.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I've been sitting on that one for a bit.
So suddenly I'm wondering if there might be the equivalent of a vampire phone tree.
Probably.
I mean, you're in an Anarch domain, and they let you have cell phones here.
They let me run an entire vet clinic. We're fine for technology.
They let Sylvia run a blog. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
So, yeah,
it's not an issue of technology. I was just thinking, what's the most ridiculous thing he can do that wouldn't shatter windows?
Attach a homing pigeon or a carrier pigeon to an arrow and shoot it from a bow to give it a flying start.
I mean, if you're gonna go that far, might as well
be a bottle
tie
rocket.
to the back of the carrier pigeon.
I hate that we had the same idea.
A rocket-powered
Drone.
carrier pigeon.
Drone.
Down.
You made me strike
yes,
somebody's house.
That sounds like perfect. He
Yes.
flies a
Shoot a drone from a
around.
rocket launcher.
I'm
You
going
like-
to lose it.
He can fly a drone around and drop little coded messages.
I'm going to lose my mind.
Okay, no. Hear me out. There's a thing I saw in anime where a dude was riding a cannonball. I think we can make this work.
No.
Just have him stand on top of the drone, dropping messages.
You mess with this. You mess with this clinic, I'll end him.
I didn't say he was
So
going to.
you get a cannon, you take a cannonball, you hollow it out, you put a bunch of carrier pigeons in it, and then you fire it off, and it pops in the sky into a bunch of pigeons.
It's like a John Woo messaging system, except
Oh
with
my gosh.
pigeons.
Clearly the superior option is the trebuchet.
Oh goodness, that actually is a good idea.
Yeah.
And he does strike me as somebody who would have a trebuchet.
Now the question is, does he know how to use it, or will it just splat whatever's in there on the ground right in front of it?
He probably pays somebody to operate it.
So what do you put on your drone delivered coded messages?
Oh,
Well,
trebuchet the drone. So you get it airborne.
Oh, wait! Please tell me it's a ridiculous cipher.
I had not considered that, but I like the sound of it.
Yeah, it's like an obscure novel, like obscure Russian novel.
Yes,
Because I
and-
was thinking of like what's that site, Giphy or something like that, where every time you save something, it's always like 3 random nouns put together.
Yes. I know what you're talking about. It often appears here in Floof Central, I think.
And
Yeah.
and the thing is the fact that the pieces are all there where the vampires are going to know exactly what's going on, but people who are not vampires are going to just, okay, what is this insanity?
I'm throwing away this pamphlet.
Fiona's gonna pick this up and she's gonna chuck it.
Why didn't he just use the Telegram
No.
group?
Fiona's the practice manager. She gets the mail.
Like, by chuck it, do you mean toss it in a trash can or chuck it at Bright's head?
Yes.
Circe doesn't even get it. Fiona's her practice manager. She's gonna throw it out because she's human.
No, I mean there will be something on there to indicate who it's supposed to be for, or or after the first time or two it was missed, there was a message passed along that, hey, let whoever's delivering or checking whether are you getting the mail, hey, can you
Let's deal
maybe
with
have
that
your
as it
mail
comes.
person
Let's start with like what's
know
on
not
the
to
message.
toss this out?
Yeah. That's,
I'm gonna make this difficult for you. By principle.
Appreciated. Let's start with what's on the message. How do you want to gather everyone or inform everyone?
Well, would there be like a prescribed, location, you think?
Yeah, you could. I mean, I'm assuming that you own several properties in this town.
All right. So, Fern, I imagine there'd be something. He'd keep once you get past the cipher, the message itself super simple, like location, a time, and something to suggest that super important meeting. If you're not there, there'd better be a really good reason.
I think this one would
It
have
took too long to decipher the cipher.
This one would probably be mandatory by order of the Baron. Might be worth
Anyway,
mentioning that.
more than likely just crash the drone and take it apart to sell for parts.
I mean, it's okay.
Parts to sell on the
He's
black
probably got an army of drones on, an army of
Exactly.
drones on standby just for that.
What's one missing? Well,
I mean,
two,
what
because I'll
is-
take.
What is one missing drone?
This
Really?
group is chaos incarnate.
it's called a nuisance, actually.
a nuisance of drones.
Well, no, we had a problem at the apartment that we had a peeping tom with a drone.
Oh, yeah. That's
I mean,
bad.
it's a nuisance, but not for him.
Fair enough.
Anyway,
All right, so you encode instructions, probably with like a checkerboard cipher, to yeah, this group chaos. Oh, I'd never encountered that before. This is a complete surprise.
Wait, what the hell is a checkerboard cipher?
It's kind of cipher. You can
Okay.
look it up.
Some sort of cipher.
It's kind of mapping letters to a grid of letters and numbers, basically.
Probably somehow related to Russia.
Maybe.
But of course,
there's a Russian quote in it somewhere that's not necessary, but it is necessary if you ask Kazimer. It sets the tone.
So yes, basically it's instructions like meet tonight at this location, which is your usual meeting location for town business, basically. One of the properties you own.
well, I mean, I'm asking as a like, would it need to be that night, or could it be like the following night to make sure there's time for everyone to get it? And
Yeah, you could make it the following night. Yeah.
so he'd set it. He'd set it for the following night, give everyone a chance to get it, and they're not caught flat-footed. Spur of the moment.
Yeah,
make a mess
yeah.
of anything that
Some
might
of
be
us have
happening.
jobs, Kazimer.
In fact, I think most of us have jobs.
I've got like a half job.
It's
Some of us.
not above board, but it's work.
Yeah. I also make masks for other vampires occasionally.
Yes.
Masks and identities, but yes.
Yeah.
So yes, meeting for the following evening.
I also
Alright.
dabble in mask making.
So I imagine you don't pilot the drones yourself, but you have someone like fly them around for you.
I mean,
Or
for
actually,
the
you
most part,
probably would have to yourself, unless you have to trust someone with like these locations of these vampires.
I'm. The
Authorities are completely befuddled at all the crashed drones around town.
What do you think?
This happens every month. What the hell's going on?
Well, I mean, I suppose there is the question of yes, who could he trust that? I mean, who could he trust to have fly to these specific locations? And
Actually, I'll tell you what. Topaz, the Nosferatu hacker who works for Baron Daria, probably would have helped pre-program a flight path for this sort of operation. So you just press the button on like your phone and it goes.
he might try flying a couple of them himself just for fun.
Oh yeah, I mean these are your toys, but
for the most of them, just to make sure he doesn't spend forever possibly crashing an entire fleet of them, he relies on pre-programmed drone locations.
So yeah. So I'm just confused by what's posting in tabletop.
I was confused too, actually.
So you send out the drone with this sort of like package of like I'm imagining like tiny rolled scrolls.
Of course.
Yes, for effect.
With like a tiny like a Ventrue wax seal.
Yes.
Release the drones.
Okay, right. Sorry. Conversation and tabletop roleplay distracting me. So Gabriel, Oblivious.
That's me.
You notice as you're just sort of cooking and brewing that you hear the buzzing of a drone and then see something drop something small in front of the door.
Well, he goes out to get it.
And it's a you've gotten a few of these before, usually like roughly once a month sometimes, but it's regular thing, but it's a encoded message.
He can just hear the thing being read in his voice in his head, and it really irritates him.
Yep. But basically it's just like every kindred is required at the meeting tomorrow. You know, this time, this location, etc.
Well, time for him to make up some nonsense about not being there for work, or at least for a short time. I mean, he's the boss. He really could be anything, but
Argues with himself to have a day off.
Circe, in front of your clinic, the drone drops by and drops a couple of tiny scrolls to the pavement in front of the door.
It is promptly shot out of the sky. With rocks.
I assume that one's actually for her and the other is actually for Dr. Bray, right?
Yeah, because they know that he hangs out around here frequently enough.
She'll eventually be given hers and take it and read it and then sigh and then grabs another one of the texts. Madison, and it's like, here, take this. Remember that guy in the lab I told you to ignore? You're going to go to his van, you're going to hand this to him, and you're going to say, I quote, if you don't come, I will drag you there myself if I have to come too.
Yeah, sure, all right. At this point, he's just like, I'm going to do what you say, and I'm not going to question it. He knows how this works. So he goes around the back of the building and knocks on the van.
I am still in the lab.
Oh,
I thought you went back.
I'm running my test.
You still probably tell him to do that just so you don't have to deal with him.
No. I thought time would have passed that you would have gone to your own lab or gone back to your van. If you're still in my lab, then Circe's probably in the middle of something. It's like, go to the lab, give this to Dr. Bright, tell him if I have to go, then he has to too, and I will drag him with me if he doesn't come.
Okay.
Okay. You take care of that.
And I tell them to say that, report that directly back to her.
Oh, one of these days I'm going to throw.
Just lowercase k.
Oh.
No period either.
Oh. I wonder who irritates her more, Dr. Braid or Kazimer.
Oh boy.
Flip a coin. The long-winded message response. Okay.
You said K.
Oh.
Yeah.
The drone drops by a few other places in town, including a radio station, and another sort of like big mansion belonging to another Ventrue, and a few other places.
Maybe drops down a chimney.
Maybe.
Santa drone.
Hopefully the fire is not lit. Which
And it
probably
also-
not if they're vampires.
Because it's following a pre-programmed flight path, drops off a tiny encoded scroll at Sylvia's currently unoccupied place.
Yeah.
She'll get there eventually.
Does Gabriel like even tell her about it while she's there? Like,
That's up to Oblivious.
Yeah.
I could probably just share the message with her. Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be you would know what's going on there.
I mean, if it's a kindred place, then there's probably a few there at some point, or they're all getting stuff.
It just knocks on the door of the safe room and passes the little thing under the door.
I mean, for the coffee place, there might be a drone that's just carrying a little basket full of little scrolls, and it's like, here, take one.
Yeah, it's got like a little like sort of like rectangular container beneath it, like attached to the bottom of it, and it just sort of just like rolls one out in front of every destination.
Eat your heart out, Amazon delivery.
It's basically a delivery drone.
Well, yeah, but I don't think theirs are automated. Ow. That was my finger.
And yeah, that's Kazimer's job done. The drone returns, empty of scrolls, and you feel the satisfaction of a job well done. Knowing that everyone now has to read your elaborately complicated messages.
And as an upside, the drone actually came back for once.
It's like, huh.
Too busy in the lab to shoot it down.
It's like, weird. The drone usually doesn't come back.
I imagine there's been a few meetings where you've had to have a talk about that. It's just like, how did it get broken? I don't know.
I don't know, bird flew into it.
I figured you wouldn't mind if I took it.
How difficult a target was it?
Yeah.
How good a target was it? Was that you asked?
How difficult a target was it?
Oh, yeah. You cut off a little bit on the early part there.
See, now I'm picturing like Duck Hunt, but with drones and Dr. Bright just shooting down the drones as they go by.
Yeah, Kazimer's
I mean,
rich
I
enough
do
to
have
go...
a hidden weapon rack.
Kazimer is rich enough to go clay pigeon shooting with top-of-the-line drones.
I'm sure he can.
And I pick
He's
up
got
the
this-
scraps every now and then.
He's got this little side game where he tries to get drones that are harder to shoot down. It's like a little running game between the two.
Ah, well, now I know that model's not worthwhile. Try another one.
Kind of a bit disappointed this time because there aren't any even bullet scratch marks on it this time.
So he's a drone beta tester.
I mean, you're kind of taking them down is kind of interfering with communications with the rest of town, so it's not advisable.
Yeah, but
It's kind of making more work and interrupting communications with the other vampires in town, which kind of supposed to be all, kindred in this together.
if I'm not the last person to get the message, I'll go deliver it around in my van.
Well, you can't possibly know. Oh, wait. All right.
This is why they send the messages to Circe and not to him.
That's also true. They deliver to the front of the building, not the back. All right.
That was perfectly timed.
What was perfectly timed?
One of my roommates in the background had said, "You're gonna burn in hell for your crimes," right as he was talking about the drone thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Coming up on... Let's see. Fit one more thing in, probably. Yeah, all right.
Yep, we can do it.
So...
Ow.
So, Gabriel.
Yes.
Sylvia, your compulsion has finally worn off.
Oh, good.
You've rested in the haven long enough. You have regained safety. The beast is satisfied that you're not in any danger now. Everything is back to normal.
Well, as normal as this place gets.
And you kind of come up just as the bell above the door jingles as a customer comes through. This very finely dressed, thin young man with slick black hair, kind of preppy looking, and immediately looking disdainful of your shop, walks in.
Take a seat. I'll get to you in a second.
Just scoffs at you and waits by the counter instead of finding a seat.
He waits a moment. He's like, "Can I help you?"
I'm afraid I must call upon you. My esteemed sire, and he goes through like a long list of names that's like X, son of Y, son of, child of Z, This long lineage. This guy's clearly a Ventrue.
At some point during his rant, he just says quietly, "He's like, Ventrue, got it."
Yeah, exactly. And when he finally finishes, he's like, "My sire insisted I come down here to meet a contact. Don't know why. Seriously, this place is beneath someone of our station, I think."
Might be, but we got rules here.
Yes, but I don't think they're all worth following. I do have this message for you that I need to pass along. And he pulls an envelope out of his vest and hands it to you.
He thinks it's seriously. What's it with Ventrue today?
Ventrue are just kind of extra in general. Like, not as bad as the Toreador, but Toreador are extra in that they have to be, like, astoundingly beautiful. Ventrue are extra in that they are the most important person in the room. No, seriously, trust me.
Officious pricks. Got it.
Yeah. So do you take the envelope?
Yes, he does. He takes the envelope, takes a quick look at it.
All right.
See if he recognizes the seal or anything, because he's sure that there's one on there.
Oh yeah, there's a seal in it. You don't necessarily recognize it, but it's another Ventrue seal, just kind of in a different, more subtle style. Like you wouldn't really know unless you were looking for it. Otherwise, it looks like a plain envelope, not like a scroll like you got from Kazimer.
Wait, hold on. That's kind of mind blowing. A subtle Ventrue.
Yeah, it is actually. It's like this does not match the style of the person who's in front of you right now.
If it's a subtle Ventrue, is it really a Ventrue at all?
It can be.
There is much debate on
Is it
that.
event false?
Hold on. I just thought of something.
If it's not event true, then it's event false.
Oh god damn it.
Yeah, just blah blah blah, lineage, blah blah blah, clan of kings, blah blah blah. But yeah, the envelope just has a simple handwritten letter inside.
Oh, handwritten. They went through the trouble.
Yeah, and in quite excellent penmanship at that. And it says, "My esteemed kindred, Gabriel Carter. You and I have never met, but we are distantly acquainted through some business partners of mine that you've helped out on occasion. And you have a certain reputation there in that lovely town. As you might have guessed, the shit standing in front of you is my child."
At that point, he looks over at the person in front of him and just gives a little smile and then looks back down at the note.
He is inspecting the coffee grinders and the sort of the equipment out front with disdain and drawing a finger across them and like he's checking for dust.
Oh my gosh.
He doesn't find any, but he's still upset.
Yes. He is trying to look like he knows the most and the best of everything. The letter goes on to say, "He is a fledgling, but to my utter disappointment, the Ventrue blood has gone straight to his head immediately. and he's rather hard to teach and control.
Oh no, is he being asked to babysit?
Oh my gosh!
That was literally the thought that crossed his mind.
Disdain, not that thing. Darn it, Digo. Anyway, the letter goes on. I would consider it a substantial boon from me to you if you would teach him a quick but strong lesson in humility.
So he wants you to beat him up.
Oh, let me at him.
He knows that he is here for a meeting. He knows not that the meeting is between his face and your fist.
Let me teach him the Gangrel way of tough love.
I won't insult you by insisting that you burn this letter after reading. I am sure you are quite well reasoned.
He's thinking, it's like, burn it, I might just frame this.
Yeah, right.
A humble Ventrue.
After
Clearly
after
he must have
a
fallen
moment,
on hard times.
after a moment, I think like Sylvia has been like waiting at like near the door frame as he's been reading it, just to make sure that it's not something related to the other message. And she holds up the letter and kind of points at it to Gabriel and goes, "Is this related to this thing at all, or can I go?"
He shakes his head. It's like, no, this is actually the fun part of my job.
Okay, well that's very good. Have fun with the fun part of your job. I'm getting out of here. And I think she'll start going out the back door if nothing stops her.
Good luck. Watch out for weirdos. He just kind of assumed it had something to do with why she ended up there in the first place.
Probably a safe assumption, knowing her job.
Yep.
So yeah, and the letter ends, sincerely yours, X of Y of Z, the whole lineage thing again, just one step shorter.
It's a really long letter, but 90% of it is just this genealogy.
Yeah, exactly. Like the bottom half of the parchment is just like titles and names and Shakespeare is in there,
It's like humble but still a Ventrue. He rolls up the letter and takes it to his puts it in his front pocket. It's like, okay, it's like, let me try this again. And he walks up to the to self-professed little shit. Yeah,
it's like, and he's just, as he's finally, you read so slow these days. My time is very valuable, and he just keeps rambling on and on and on.
Probably talking about how you old timers are all just need to get with the times.
Oh no,
youngins that are the better ones.
I read the letter quite extensively.
Boomer.
And I see your urgency. We need to get right to this. I have a room specially prepared for this.
Oh, excellent. His whole like body perks up and like, ooh, special room for me. Just
I think you're going to enjoy this.
Just special treatment. Yes, indeed. Lead the way. Post haste, etc., etc.
He does just that. He because he has it's the same room. It's actually the same room where it leads to the back. Where Sylvia was.
Yeah.
It's locked. It's locked for two reasons. One, so he can sleep. Two, so in case he has to be a little more forceful with the rules, it's a little harder to get out.
Yeah. So roll me strength brawl.
Oh dear. Watch me fuck this up.
Probably add your potence if you want to.
Your specialty with fighting kindred applies here, so you add another die.
Yeah, so that's 4 dots of brawl, 4 dots of strength.
Yeah. Roll 8 dice.
Oh, this is gonna be.
You can invoke potence and probably get some extra in there as well, but that's up to you.
Would that be 9?
What potence powers do you have?
I have. Let's see, it's right here on this. I have lethal body, which actually doesn't apply in this situation because he's not immortal. If I do invoke it, I can ignore armor that he happens to have on.
Oh, he's not armored at all.
I didn't.
He thinks he's invincible.
Let's see. What is he? It is lethal body and prowess. Prowess. Vampires with potence gain far greater strength. Yada yada. 1 rouse check when activated. Add the potence rating of the user to the unarmed damage value as well as feats of strength. And add all that to the melee damage rounded up.
So, yeah, that would apply because this is unarmed combat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably going to flatten him.
Oh, probably. But yeah, so you can honestly, you'd probably be more cost effective to rouse rouse the blood surge. It'd be add 2 dice.
Well, I mean,
so basically you get like 15 dice here.
Rouse
I don't know. I wasn't keeping track.
A rouse check is a straight 1d10, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a coin flip. 6 and all right. You rouse the blood and succeed.
Okay. So
and are you doing that to activate prowess or activate blood surge?
I'm honestly not sure what the difference would be. I think prowess
blood surge would give you 2 dice, and prowess would
give me a flat bonus.
Yeah,
would give you a bonus to your feat of strength to your feat of strength, and then okay. Add the potence rating
unarmed damage, and then half of it for melee damage.
Okay. So yeah, you would add your potence rating to the roll.
Okay.
And damage.
To the damage roll specifically.
Oh, to the damage, right.
Okay, so that's 10d10.
Or you could.
So I'm assuming you're going to blood surge for extra dice?
Yeah.
All right. So roll 10d10.
Probably doesn't even need it.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see, and how do you? It's S6, right?
Yep, S6.
Yep.
Okay, and
what is your
4
hunger
successes?
Right now? Your hunger is 1, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4 successes.
So 4 successes is pretty good. I mean, could have been higher with 10 dice, but like.
Yeah, I was expecting better, but I was like, you know what? I was expecting a complete failure. So
that's dice pools for you, but still like.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find the table that like outlines how difficulty goes.
Could also roll an opposing check for him, but
well, I'm sure he's not expecting it. If anything, I'm sure he would get a penalty to that.
Yeah, and also if he has
4 successes is like challenging, where like you're locating the source of a whisper or creating a memorable piece of art, something like that. In this case, beating up a kindred who is a fledgling, like still like an adult man, but like has been a vampire for like less than a couple of months at least, at most. That's less than 4 successes, I say.
Probably could have.
Especially one that's not anticipating this happening.
Yeah, probably didn't even need a roll for this.
Well, but
I just wanted to let him roll for this. I wanted to show off what he's capable of when he puts his mind to it. 10 dice when he surges. So you're like summoning your supernatural strength to just lay into this kid. And
there's you hear. I'm pretty sure what you hear is 4 quiet oofs in the background.
yeah, just through the wall, just like, oh, ah! Just the other patrons in the
Mommy.
and yeah, the
Still has a face, right?
yeah, he still has a face.
Okay.
He mostly put up his arms in front of his face to protect it, and not really effectively the rest of his body. So his torso is not great.
He's gonna is he still standing or is he on the ground?
He's on the ground, like on hands and knees, like trying to remember how to call upon the blood to mend his bruised body.
It's like, how do I do that again?
Yeah.
Alt F4. Wait, that's the wrong. No.
Alt F4 out of life.
He's like, you traitor, when my sire hears about this.
He picks him up. He picks him up by the hair, but he's gonna be nice about it, gently. It's like, who do you think told me to do this?
His eyes go
Show
wide. It's like,
to your elders.
no, that's impossible.
You need instruction in the ways of pain and respect. I taught you I taught you the first part. Now you're gonna learn the second part.
Okay.
Give me your wrist.
You're not gonna drain me, are you?
No, you're not gonna die, but it's gonna hurt.
You're not actually. You're only at hunger 1. You can't go back down to hunger 0 without draining.
No,
someone.
I'm just trying to scare him a little.
Well, he still puts his wrist out because you've thoroughly intimidated him.
He's about to bite down, and then he stops.
He visibly he's clenching with all of his might, like the veins are bulging up from his lower arm. He's just like,
Two for touching.
Makes it worse.
He waits till he gets the full reaction out of him, and then he stops. Like, that's the price of doing business here. You got off lucky because I ate earlier today. You remember that the next time you remember that the next time you walk in, all right?
Maybe break his arm for good measure.
seems unnecessary at this point.
Yeah.
Nah, I've already pummeled his arms thoroughly. That
He is puking up his own vampire blood.
wonderful. He's gonna have to clean that up later.
Gonna have to, yeah, a little bit, but that's kind of
Worry about that later.
there's no such thing as a clean beat down.
No.
So do you let him go?
Oh no, I'm not worried about him. He stands him up, dust the kid off a little bit. It's like now run back to your sire and tell him exactly what happened. Don't miss a detail.
Yeah, I'll be
Show him
sure.
what you want.
He kind of grits his teeth and glares back at you like a wounded wolf as he stumbles out the front door.
He
Poor baby.
does the thing where he takes a fake step towards him.
And he jumps and just sprints out the front door into the night, just biting his tongue so he doesn't scream like a howling puppy.
How you know someone's not a Gangrel? That.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, that was fun. I haven't had to do that in a while.
All right. And I think that brings the tale of our first night in Sedona to more or less a close, unless there's anything anyone wants to take care of, any business before we wrap this up. Like feeding and whatnot. No?
No, I think we're good. I think I'd rather get into. I have one thing, but it's something I think would be better at the start of the next one.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
I mean, I'm feeling like
Ow.
anything I would want to do is, the consequence would be the kind of thing where want to save it when there's more time next week.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not
All right.
next week, but next time.
All right. Well, So at the start of next session, we'll kind of like see if there's anything like on this day that needs wrapping up, and then we'll start with the next day. Something like that.
Yeah, the meeting was it the next day?
Yeah,
I
it's
couldn't remember.
tomorrow. Yeah, the next night.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds good.
Okay. In that case, that'll be the end of our session 1 of the Blood Virulent. And what a session it turned out to be, all sold. Quite exciting.
A great time was had by all.
Except for that
Indeed.
one guy.
Except for that couple of guys.
And also maybe Circe. Circe?
It doesn't sound like she has a good day most days.
Yeah.
The pros and cons of working in medical.
Yeah.
Got
No
to
kidding.
deal with Karens, the police.
Yeah, but then I have a whole second floor full of puppies that want to be played with.
Yeah.
You make a compelling argument.
That
I
is
do. That's
compelling.
what. I have a full paragraph. of
I'm
this
allergic to dogs, and that's still compelling. Anyway, thank you for listening to our Spudventures. If you like what you heard, you can find more at youtube.com/Newbiespud or wherever you get your fine podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, etc. We aim to livestream these games every Sunday around 2 p.m. Pacific time at twitch.tv/Newbiespud. If you want to keep up with this and other projects I'm doing, you can follow me on Twitter at Newbiespud. And if you want to support my ability to produce more content like this, please consider supporting me at patreon.com/Newbiespud. See you next time with another session of Shadow Trot.